In this movie, I want to schedule a Skype for Business meeting using Outlook 2016. If you do not know Outlook well, be sure to check out our Outlook 2016 Essential Training course to learn more. Also, the features that we'll see in Outlook in this movie only work on Windows. If you need to schedule a Skype for Business meeting on a Macintosh, you should refer to the technique that we saw in another movie where we scheduled a meeting using the Office 365 web calendar. Before we jump into Outlook, here in the Skype for Business application, I can go to the Meetings section and I can see a list of any meetings that are on my calendar for today, but there is no option here to create a new meeting. So one way to do that, of course, would be to go over to Outlook. So I already have Outlook running here, so let's switch over. And there are a few ways to get what you need here. First, here in the Mail view, which I can get to by hitting this button, I'm going to go to the Home ribbon, to this button that says New Items. If I open that up, there's a little menu here, and there's an item in this menu for Skype meetings. So I can click on that, and this is the window we'll be working with as we go through this movie. But for now, I'm going to close this, and I do not want to save my changes. I'll just hit No, because I want to look at a few different ways to get to that same window. Another way would be to go to the calendar view, which I can get to with this little button down here at the bottom. And there's a button here in the Home ribbon for New Skype Meeting. Or you can start by creating a new appointment here in the calendar view. So I could hit New Appointment. And this is the interface you would use to create an appointment just for yourself on your own calendar. But within this window, there's a button that says Skype Meeting. And if I click on that, that will convert this appointment into an invitation for a Skype meeting. All right, so those are the three ways we can use to get to this window. So let's start taking a look around. In some ways, this window is a combination of a calendar appointment and an email message. There is a To field where you can write who you want to send invitations to. There's a subject line, just like a subject line for an email message. This big box here will become the body of the email message, and I can see there is information here for joining the Skype meeting. So when I send this invitation, this is what people will see in their email. So let's start by inviting some people to this meeting. So what I can do is just go to the To field and start typing in people's names or email addresses. So if I start typing in the name for Stuart, it will search my organization and it will find Stuart, so I can click on him to choose him. Another way would be to hit this To button, and then you can browse through your contacts. So I want to find Leah here. So I'll choose her name, and I'll actually double-click on her to add her to this list, and then I'll hit OK. Or you could just type in the email address for a user who does not already have an Office 365 or a Skype for Business account. So you can actually invite people to join your meeting even if they are not a Skype for Business user. And we'll see how that plays out as we go through the rest of this chapter. So I could just click back on this field and type in an email address. So I've already used this email address in the past, so I can just click on that and it adds it to the list. Next, I should go to the subject line. And this is probably just going to be the name of your meeting. So I'm going to call this Finance Review Meeting. And next, I should set the time and date for this meeting. So it's already set for today, so I'm going to leave that, but I do want to change the time. So let me go in here, and let's say I wanted to set it for 1 o'clock and end at 2 o'clock. So now I've set both the day and the time. Then I need to check to see if this time will cause a scheduling conflict for anybody that I'm inviting. In the bottom right corner of this window, and you may need to scroll down a little bit, I can see some suggested times. This tells me if there are any conflicts for the time that I chose, and it usually shows me a few other options around the same time. To get a more detailed view of this, I can go up into the Meeting ribbon, that's the ribbon that is currently active, and I can choose this button labeled Scheduling Assistant. So from here, I can look at everybody's schedule. This row represents my schedule. I can see Stuart's. I can see Leah's. This other person is not a Skype for Business user, is not an Office 365 user, so I cannot see their calendar information. That's why it just has those diagonal lines through it. So I'm just going to have to make my best guess here. Now I can see in the time that I selected, both me and Leah are currently occupied, so that's not going to work. So I could change the time here with these little menus, or I could just grab this block and I could move it. So I'm going to move the start point to 11, and let me move the end point to 12, and that is a time that I know everybody's available. When I'm finished with this scheduling assistant view, I want to go back into the meeting ribbon and click on Appointment, and that takes me back to the view that we saw a moment ago. So now I have the people I want to invite, I have the subject, I have a time picked out, and of course down here I can see the body of the message that will be sent to the people I'm inviting. So I could fill in some additional details about the meeting here. I could just click on this text field and type something in. Next, and this is optional, but you may want to set an appointment reminder so that the people invited to the meeting will get a notification to remind them of that meeting. You can do that by, again, going into the meeting ribbon, and you've got your reminder option here. The default will be a reminder 15 minutes before the meeting, but you can change that if you want to. So once I have all of this filled in, I'm done. Now I can send the meeting invitation, which I can do just by hitting the send button right here. Now, if I go back to Skype for Business, I'll just minimize this window. I may have to give this a minute to refresh, but I will see that new meeting appear here on my list. I'm going to jump to the contact view and then back to the meeting view. And after a moment, it will appear here. So that's all I need to do to schedule this meeting and invite people. But let's see what it looks like when somebody receives an invitation. So let me switch over to the computer belonging to one of those other people. So here I am on Stuart's computer. Stuart is one of the people who I invited to this meeting. Stuart is already signed into the Skype for Business application. So if he goes to the meetings section, he can see that meeting has been added to his list here. We'll talk about how to join in on the meeting in another movie. For now, I do want to jump over to Outlook, or really whatever Stuart uses for email, and you'll see that he has received an email invitation. And if we click on this, we see the information about this appointment. But up at the top, we also see some buttons, accept or decline. If Stuart does not want to attend this meeting, he can hit decline and it will be removed from his calendar. Before we hit one of those buttons, I do want to jump over to the calendar view, and we can see that that appointment is here on this calendar as well. It's easy if we switch over to the week view, which is the view I'm on now, then we can see it really clearly. Now you can see that this appointment is a lighter color. That means it has not been accepted or declined yet. So what we'll need to do, if you are using Outlook, you can select that appointment, which will switch us over to the meeting ribbon, and then you have the buttons to accept or decline it. So from here, I'll just hit accept. I will send a response, which tells the meeting organizer that I have accepted this. And now that meeting changes, it's more solid on my calendar, so it is all set and I'm ready to attend that meeting when the time comes. So if you're a Windows user with Outlook 2016, that's how you can schedule Skype meetings, and you've also seen what you can do when you receive a Skype meeting invitation.